Hello and welcome to the news this evening. Today we are going to be looking at some news pieces. So many little bits of news coming in today. Got a program for you. So basically, we have news coming from England and from all around the world. Things like Sri Lankan president is supposed to resign after he was sort of pushed from his home. Well, not pushed from something, like they came and were basically telling him to resign after the economy began to have some problems. So yeah, so a lot of things going on there. That are, somewhat interesting. As well as that, there is also in Japan, there is going to be a leadership election, and that's in the wake of the murder of former leader. And yeah, so it's they've said that that won't stop the Democratic will going ahead. And some people would see this as a good thing. Others would say, well, we should probably wait a bit. But who knows what is the way they should do things. But anyway, moving over to England. So this is one of the things where there has been calls for investigation to claims that Boris Johnson lobbied for a job for a young woman in an abuse of power. Furthermore, as of this live thing, 8 Tories have actually put themselves forward to replace Boris Johnson, and a lot of them are what you might call in conference with journalists. So it's an interesting little thing there because, journalists in England seem to be fairly kind to Boris Johnson, but, you've got this sort of weird thing where journalists are like, oh yeah, he was stabbed in the back by them. But also, let's face facts, he is out, so who wants to be leader? And that's one of the things they're looking at there, where we can see that there are some politicians that have been in conference with journalists. So who knows? Is there meddling in these kind of affairs? Who truly knows? But that's looking at there. Looks a bit on the weird side there, but. Moving on there, you also have a bit of an issue when it comes to one of the situations where one of the leaders, for example, is the former chancellor, and who rose the taxes, and then you also have a load of them promising they'll cut corporation tax, which, by the way, why is that? Why are they announcing that? Like, isn't that something you tell corporations behind closed doors? Like, don't worry, guys, you can meddle in political affairs and you can have me elected to the party because that way I'll make sure that we will have the corporation tax cut. And that is the thing. It's a tactic that is used sometimes in inflationary periods where you cut tax. But you generally don't just cut tax for corporations, because corporations, they tend to make a killing during inflationary periods because, well, they just keep putting up their prices. And this is especially true for very large corporations. It is difficult for smaller businesses, your shop on the corner kind of thing. But if you're talking about major corporations, and that doesn't even just mean multinationals, that could just mean major corporations in your country, they will oftentimes make a killing. I think the profit was 70% up from 2019, so that's a high amount of profit, where you could argue, well, why not just keep the tax on corporations, or in fact just raise the tax on corporations, or just make them drop their prices, and then just cut the tax for the lower consumers. Because looking at it now, it just seems like they're trying to just giving gifts to businesses, and just like to the consumer, they're just like, oh, maybe we'll reduce it by the amount we raised it by. So there's not much you're actually doing there, but So a lot of things going on there in England. So not looking the best. England is probably not going to have the best government or the best prime minister after this is over. But also when it comes to Ukraine, a rocket has hit a town of around 12,000 people, and at least 6 people have been killed by the Russian strike on the eastern Ukraine. So yeah, homeless figures also are kind of causing concern, and because rental availability dropped by 46% since March. That is a concern. Indeed it is. And Northern Ireland has also come into the fray when it comes to the issue of, looking at the likes of the Tory leadership. McGuinness has said that, Northern Ireland is kind of important in this area. You had the thing where now army officers are getting their immunity for any crimes they committed in Northern Ireland, which is very, very dodgy and kind of a sign of a country that's ready to go to war and let its officers commit war crimes. I wonder, is it against like the Geneva Convention, that sort of thing? Because surely, I guess it's not necessarily seeing as you're not like the Russians. You're not telling your army officers to go out and commit war crimes. You're just letting your officers go out and commit war crimes. And I think that is, of course, the issue currently. Looking at it, we can see that, there'll be problems there. And people have said it should be the front and center of the Tory leadership race because it is a major change. And I think as well, when it comes to the likes of, such things as, how Boris Johnson, he wasn't willing to give the Scottish voters the right for their independence, which is a very dodgy thing, like saying, oh, you had a vote in 2014. I don't know, Boris, maybe something big happened in between 2014 and now. I don't know, like maybe you forced a country out of the European Union even when they didn't democratically choose that. Maybe that happened. Maybe massive, inflation happened and massive mismanagement happened as well under your leadership. Maybe all that happened. Did that happen? Oh, yes, it did happen. Yeah, Boris. So, bit nonsensical there, but perhaps maybe under particular Tory leadership, they might be able to get their chance at independence, but who knows? The person who gets into power after Boris Johnson might be worse, and I'd say they probably will be. Because it does look rather like, I have this kind of strange thing when I'm looking at it, and I feel almost sorry for Boris Johnson, but also not. You know what I mean? Like, you see British newspapers in England that basically have this psyche of, okay, this is our viewpoint. This is the way we want to say things. And basically their perspective is, making Boris Johnson out to be a victim. And in a way, he is. But he is like a victim like some Nazis were, some high-ranking Nazis were under Hitler. He's not a good person. He's not a nice person. It's just he's a threat to other Tories. So the Tories just go, well, he's a vote loser. I will most likely lose my seat if I'm not careful. If Boris Johnson is the leader. Because people will be like, well, I can't trust Boris Johnson's area to vote him out. So I'm going to make sure I do not vote in a party that will make him Prime Minister of England. So I'll make sure that, as far as I can, that his party do not get into power. And that would, of course, be sensible. I don't know now. Maybe people will have changed their minds. Maybe they will vote for the Conservative Party now that he's out. It seems like they will. I think that the Conservative Party was rightly concerned that they might lose votes. But yeah, I think they realised once Boris Johnson had knowingly given a, sexual, person who attacks someone sexually, if you give someone like that authority over other people, yeah, people aren't going to vote for you, most likely. Although, who knows? We can see that online. A lot of people who have assisted in sexual assault, not naming any names, but certain YouTubers, for example, that have assisted in sexual assault, they're not doing too badly. David Dobrik. But that kind of thing. It's like, if you're going to assist in these sort of things, it's going to often seem like a vote loser, but who knows? It might have been fine. But that's the kind of thing you see there with British politics. It's concerning, to say the least, as to what will happen next. But, And SA Mills suspected of hiring promoters within colleagues to gather information on assignments. So, yeah, that's concerning. My. Anyway, so a lot of the time, I have this sort of thing where, when looking at this and looking at the way the news is now, you do have to wonder, it's not exactly the best situation. Not at all. And that, of course, is often an issue. Because looking at it, you think, it's a problematic situation. And really, the news these days, very depressing. So yeah, see ya. That's a nice little ender